Okay, shalom, shalom, everyone. I trust we're doing great today. Thank you for joining me, and welcome to this presentation on the topic maximizing your undergraduate days, how to turn potential into power. I believe most persons who will be listening to this are currently undergraduates studying for your bachelor's, BSc, BA, BEd, whichever bachelor's, and whatever level, also, whatever department, whatever faculty. I trust that this presentation will be insightful and valuable to you. Now, why the subteam says turning potential into power is because your undergraduate days has a lot of potential. You also have a lot of potential. There's a lot that you can possibly do within the next 4 years, within the next 3 years, within the next 5 years, within the next 6 years. I don't know how long your course of study is or how many more sessions you still have, but I trust that the lessons we'll share here are going to help you make the most of that, right? We'll begin foundation that honors God. I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, I'm a person of faith, as many of you know. So it's very important that in everything we do, whether it's eating, studies, career, that it honor God, that it honors God. What did I just say? And how to also accelerate your purpose, accelerate your calling, right? Now, when we say calling, don't just think, oh, pulpit ministry, right? So do join me on this journey. I trust it to be worth your time. Now, I've said this, but I would want to emphasize it again, and that is the fact that your years in the university, it's not just for the degree. It can serve as a launch pad for destiny. It can be the best opportunity for you to grow, build, and start away preparing yourself for that amazing destiny that I am so sure you have. Okay, so we're looking at how to transform your undergraduate days into a career building journey, how to not just make it a season of going to classes and writing exams and wondering why you are going through the whole stress, right? But how to make it a critical launch pad, how to make it the the launch pad into greater things, how to make it not just a waiting season, but how to make it a building season, a preparing season. Because you see, in today's world, right, what we call real life, right? Usually, when they say after school, then you come into real life. There are certain things that are of greater priority. One of which is your skills. One of which is your real world experience. One of which is how ready you are, your ability to learn, your adaptability. Those things are just much more valuable in today's world than just the fact that you have a certificate. After all, every year the universities graduate thousands and even tens of thousands of people, right? Just imagine how many persons are graduating every year just in a country like Nigeria alone. Then take that across all of the other universities in all of the other nations in the world. It tells you that a lot of persons are getting this degree. The question is, what will make you stand out? What will be the difference? What will be your own difference? What will be your unique selling proposition, your USP? Okay, graduates with at least one internship receive more job offers. Now, all of those things are statistically proven, right? And one of the things I also highly recommend is that start getting, although we'll look at that more as we go into the presentation, start getting real world experience as early as possible. And one of the simple way to do that is through internship, right? Virtual internships or even real time internships. My first internship was in 200 level, even though the one the school mandated was actually in 400 level because I did engineering. That's a 5 year course, and it was my penultimate year that I had CWES or internship as a course. What I'm simply saying is that as early as possible, yes, you want to start gathering that experience. You want to find one professional skill, one thing that is so relevant to your course of study, and build it and build on it and master it, right? Now one skill that of course will apply to everyone, right, regardless of what you're studying, are digital skills, right? Your ability to use computers, to use AI, to use all of the digital tools and devices that we have to provide solutions to actually, fulfill things. Something as simple as this presentation, the PowerPoint presentation that we're going through. I actually didn't sit down to start creating all of those things. I prepared the content and then I poured it into presentation AI and it gave it to me. Right. So what I'm just simply trying to say is that yes, you should build on your digital skills, but you should also look at other things that are more relevant or more specific to your field of study. your field of study. It might be more research based, it might be more project based, it might be whatever it is. But definitely you should identify and build that so that you are very proactive about this phase you are. Don't allow school happen to you where the days and the weeks and the months are just going by and you don't even know what you're doing. Please be very proactive about your journey, be very intentional about the journey, and make the most of it. Make the most of it. Yeah, I was saying this earlier. There in physics, there's what's called potential energy and kinetic energy. Potential is just what is possible, right? What exists because of a certain state or because of what a material is made of. For example, batteries, they have potential energy. And one of the things that serves so similar to potential energy is knowledge. It's important, and that is why you must build on it. That is why you must garner it. That is why you must intentionally learn. That's why you must intentionally learn. However, there is what is called kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is energy due to motion, energy that is actually being applied, right? And how that comes in is what we call experience. Is what we call experience. It does not necessarily have to be all of your own experience. You can learn from the experiences of others. But then there's also an important place of you getting involved and creating real impact, right? Showing that you have taking action on not just the things that you have learned. It can be something as simple as your final year project. It can be something as simple as programs and projects that you volunteer for or that you are a part of making it happen. What I'm just saying trying to say is that you might not realize how much potential you have until you take action, until you start showing up, until you start taking steps to ensure that it does not just remain potential, that it comes to that it turns to kinetic energy. Now, what are some of the common mistakes that I see students make? Some of the traps where, even though they have the best intentions, they want to, do very well, but some of the traps where these intentions just die. Some of the things that limit growth, some of the things that. So what are they? One of which is focusing only on grades while neglecting practical skills and networking. And networking. I can do an entire presentation just on that one networking. But one of the first things I want to say is this: please don't downplay the place of your grades. You are in school primarily to study. Get the A's, get the B's, graduate with at the barest minimum. Yes, it's like a class upper, a 2-1, right? I'm not saying everyone will do that, but I'm simply saying as much as the target should be a first class, so that if you don't get the first class, you get the 2-1. Get excellent grades, please, because there are a lot of opportunities it can open up for you, right? Postgraduate opportunities, traveling out of the country, good jobs. I know people say, oh, there are no jobs, but the truth is that there are some jobs and some persons are just not qualified for them. That's the truth, right? So get excellent grades. However, don't just get grades while in school. Some of the persons who I know, first class students, some of the most excellent students, it's so interesting that they are also not just only book. You understand my point, right? These are also persons. I'm talking about the likes of Chuko, Desmond 5.0, James Ale, Big Three. I can't even call of their names. Eddie, right? These were also some of the persons who were I could see them being so intentional about their skills, being so intentional about networking, especially on the platform like LinkedIn, right? So what I'm simply saying, I'm trying to be as specific and as practical as possible. That's why I'm calling some names or some platforms. What I'm just simply emphasizing is that don't just get grades. Ensure you are building your skills. Something as basic as communication skills. You get an opportunity to address your class, you get an opportunity to address your fellowship, to address, please accept it. Don't say I'm too shy. And no, you should be able to talk because you can have a lot of value. But if you're not able to communicate that, then how will you know that you are such a valuable person? Okay, so communication, interpersonal skills, all of those things are so key. Don't just do great while in school. The next mistake I see is isolating yourself while within major block opportunities. What I'm just saying, trying to emphasize there is that there are a lot of opportunities, right? A lot of opportunities, scholarships, internships, fellowships that you can apply for while still an undergraduate. I enjoyed quite a number of them. I was a part of some organizations. I had some international opportunities. I I earned millions from just undergraduate scholarships, right? Millions in there though. So, but what I'm emphasizing is that the only way I could have known of those things was because I didn't isolate myself. I had people who, from 100 level, 200 level, we're so intentional about this. And we were a community. We shared these opportunities with ourselves and we kept making progress. Don't isolate yourself. Don't do life alone. Don't do the university, your undergraduate days alone. Okay. There are some things that you don't even know you will have interest in them until you get to hear of them. And how do you get to hear of them? Based on the relationships, based on the circle that you have. And of course, not everyone should be your friend, right? I'm not saying you should just accept anybody and everybody. The next thing is waiting for official permission to gain experience. This delays growth. You should take initiative to learn. You should take initiative. Like I said, I didn't have to wait till my official 400 level before I went for my first internship, right? You don't have to wait. This, especially in a world like, or in an age such as we are in, right? There are a lot of opportunities online, digital and virtual internships. I saw one, right? That was from Apple. Yes, the big company, Apple. And the only reason why I could not apply for it then is that I've now graduated and they just wanted it for just undergraduates and specifically from Africa, right? What I'm just simply saying is that don't wait for official opportunity, official permission, right? Show up, start doing things, start making big things. Then I wanted to do one simple project in school and I was requesting for permission. I was not getting it. I don't know if the letter was just on the table and was not being attended to. I went on to do the project, and then nobody. There was no negative feedback. Instead, it was just a lot of applause and appreciation. What I'm simply saying is sometimes just go on and do it. Do you understand me? Right. The next mistake I also see students making is neglecting the spiritual formation. Your time in school is a time to grow, to learn. When I say grow, to grow in the truth, to grow in faith, to get to know God, to get to build your work with God. It's a time when you want to get clarity as touching the matters of destiny. So please, it's very important that you don't neglect your spiritual formation because it can lead to burnout. It can lead to that thing, especially for I can say this personally, right? One of the ways I refresh, one of the ways I am renewed and re-energized is in that time of fellowship. As I worship, as I pray, as I just have this beautiful time with God or this beautiful time with friends, especially Christian friends. That time when we share fellowship one with another. I'm simply saying, don't neglect your spiritual formation as you're studying whatever course. Also study your Bible. There's this song we just sing when we're younger. Read your Bible, pray every day, pray every day. It's so valid, right? Please. Now, also remember that academics are the foundation, it's not the ceiling. Life does not end in school, right? It's just a preparation for so much more. So understand that it's a journey. It's a journey. I would like to liken it to a race, but it's not a sprint. It's more of a marathon. It's more of a marathon. So please ensure that you have that long-term view, right? And that you are building on purpose. That you are not just whining or spending time in school, but you are building. I can't emphasize that word enough. Building, building. The next mistake is the mistake of not having a mentor or an accountability system or peers who are walking that journey of growth together. Please break those traps, right? Reach out for guidance, ask questions. It's not a necessarily a good thing, but you know that thing where in many schools semester to semester, session to session, the professors are the same, they're teaching the same coursework, they are almost setting similar questions. It's not a good thing. Like I said, we should have our system adapt in knowledge and all. But what I'm just simply trying to say is that if it's so repetitive, it means that with the insight of a senior colleague, you'll be able to predict and you'll be able to do better. Do you understand me? You'd be able to know what to expect as touching the coming semester and you'd be able to do better. So I want to introduce you to some specific principles, and one of which is what I call the sandbox principle. The sandbox principle. It's execution over correction. That is to say, apply your knowledge through project-based learning through real world practice, right? One of the best ways to learn skills is to just learn it practically on the go, not just to read, but while reading, you are, working on the project. While reading, you are putting it to practice. While reading, you're having action points and action steps. It helps you to not just learn faster, but to also learn better, for the learning to be deeper, for the learning to stick more, right? And it also helps you build confidence, where you find that you're able to translate what you are learning to practical steps. Okay? So use the campus as a safe environment. The risk is lower. For many undergraduates, your parents are still covering your basic needs. You don't have a family you are responsible for. yes, if you fail, what's the worst thing that will happen? It's that shame or whatever that you think you're feeling, which is still low risks, right? Compare it with many years from now when you have far greater responsibility. What I'm simply saying is that use the campus as a safe environment to experiment, right? To show up, to do things, to try, to fail, start again, and continue, right? Engage in student initiatives that solve practical problems. There's a lot of initiatives that are concerned about leadership, about environment sustainability. While I was in school, I was a member of Friends of Nature who were just so concerned about climate change and environmental sustainability and sanitation. And my point is that think of whatever projects or whatever programs or whatever initiatives in your own school that have to do with real world issues, right? Because it's also part of how you will have stories to tell much later when you're applying for graduate school or when you are, facing an interview panel. It helps you to have real experiences. Okay. So what I'm simply saying is that show up. Also offer your skills. If you're able to design, if you're able to write, if you're able to speak, offer your skills. Offer your skills. It also helps you to refine those skills. It also helps. And one of the best ways to offer your skills is to offer it for what we call NPOs, non-profit organizations, or NGOs, non-governmental organizations, because it gives you a track record of volunteering. Volunteering is also another topic that I can do an entire series, an entire presentation of. But I hope that you understand that, right? Launch a small project. Test the things you are learning. You have your own visions, your own ideas. Begin to take action on them. Don't wait necessarily till when everything is all in place. Okay. Hands-on approach to learning builds confidence. It helps you to gain practical experience, and it also prepares you. It makes you ready for future challenges. Let's look at scriptures. The Bible tells us that when David was to face Goliath, he could remember that he had killed a lion, he had killed a bear. Start celebrating your small wins. Start stacking up your small wins. Start engaging all of those projects and having things that would serve as testimonies for the future. The next key I want to talk about is what I call the vertical T for lasting impact, right? That is, so you can see what's the T there, right? The vertical bar is deep expertise. Think of a T, right? And then the horizontal bar on the top is transferable soft skills. So it means that you should combine deep expertise with essential soft skills. Soft skills include things like I said, adaptability, include things like interpersonal relationship, include things like those are soft skills, but also ensure that you have real life practical skill, right? Your technical skills, your programming skills, your all of those things, right? So it's a combination or that collaboration of specialized knowledge and skills in your specific area, and all of those things like leadership skills, critical thinking skills that best positions you for leadership, that best positions you for opportunities, that best positions you for the future, right? Every time you get an opportunity to engage, please, like I said, show up and make the most of your time in school. The next point I want to emphasize is the power of faith, the power of purpose, the power of integrity. Don't just go through school, right, and fail to build this character and fail to build a foundation of faith. Faith is an anchor. Faith is an anchor. There are times when there's just nothing else that can work until you talk to God about it. There are times that it's just that faith where you know that God has a plan for you, that you are not just living a life that does not serve a purpose, that will keep you grounded, that will keep you resilient, that will enable you to keep going, right? And one thing also that the world seeks, the world is seeking faithful men, people who have character, people of integrity. So this is where a lot of students are just engaging in malpractice and doing all of those things. They fail to realize that they are eroding character, right? You want to have be that person who you believe yourself, you trust yourself, you know that there are certain things that you will and you will not do, right? So what I'm simply saying is that faith is a compass, faith is a foundation. It strengthens you, it keeps you grounded, it enables you to make certain decisions, right? There are some decisions that you just know that you can't make because it does not align with your value. It makes decisions making easier. It makes decision making easier. And when challenges come, you can always turn to God and find strength. Okay? Integrity is also a bridge. There are some persons who they might succeed in quotes, right? But it won't last because of there is no foundation of character. right? Because at some point they will betray trust, or engage in something that is immoral or unethical, and that can lead to some embarrassment or some shameful um consequences or some loss of relationships. What I'm simply saying is that as those little temptations come while in school and you overcome, that is how you are building character. That is how you are much more becoming a person who is trustworthy and who you also trust yourself. I said this earlier, but I also want to emphasize it, the place of building networks. You know the saying, your network is your net worth, right? Cultivate valuable relationships. Show up for your friends, right? Be that person who people can trust and know that, oh, this person is helpful. This person is a person of value. Develop influence. The truth is, every one of us, we are products of influences. We have people who are influencing our lives, possibly on social media, from our church, from family, but you also have someone or a number of persons who you are influencing. What example are you showing them? What example are you showing them? This is the place where you leverage your relationships with peers, with mentors, with professionals, right? And you should always have a value first mindset. Don't be that person who is always thinking of, what do I get from you? What can I take? How will you help me? What do I benefit? Think of how to give to people. Life is about contribution. Life is about donation. Life is about giving, being that person of value. Okay, and I'm going to come to this other part, but I want to also recommend LinkedIn. Right, it's there on the last point, but it's one thing that has given me access to a lot of opportunities, because a lot of persons, they are just are very professional. You can see their career path. It can tell you possibilities within even your course field, right? It can tell you of some international opportunities. And so reflect, let your journey be reflected, or be shown on LinkedIn. Don't pretend to be who you are not. As you begin to make progress and continue to make progress, you can update regularly. Are we together? Right? Identify the industry professionals that you can and you should follow. Right? There are some alumni who, like I said, were such huge blessings to me. I can't start telling a lot of testimonies now. And for some of them, we're connected on LinkedIn. Right? So I'm saying maximize it, maximize it. To go to that first point, develop your network with your peers, your classmates. Don't just look at people who are just ahead. Some of your peers in the next 10, 20 years would be the persons who are doing great things. And I trust that as you are also making progress, you'll be able to collaborate with them on bigger projects, right? Also build relationships with your faculty, that is your lecturers. You will need them for opportunities, for recommendation letters, for a lot of things much later, right? Don't be that person who it's when you need them that you come and be introducing yourself, that, sir, I was your student, and they're like, okay, I don't know you. They'll just be giving generic information about you. So what I'm saying is, build relationship with experienced faculty, with experienced lecturers, especially those who have good character and who are intentional about their job, because I know some persons hear me not go into that. Right? And also alumni, I've mentioned that they can serve as sponsors, as gatekeepers, as mentors. Okay. And I've emphasized the place of also having a value first networking approach. Right? You should be thinking of what to give. Right? And also for some persons who you meet, don't even try to impress them. Just be humble enough to ask questions. Be humble enough to seek advice. Be humble enough to offer help, to think of how can you volunteer for their own programs, for their own projects, for their own events. And it's part of how you can give, right? It's not too early for you to start giving. The next, balancing academics, relationships, and service. Please, balance is so key. Don't be that person who you might excel in just one area of your life and other areas of your life are failing. The weakest part of the chain of the link becomes the point that gets broken. And from there, what I'm just emphasizing is that you should find that stability, you should find that balance, right? Balance is also a topic on its own. But I just one thing I would also help you is relationships will help you to maintain balance, because there are some things that you don't necessarily have to do by yourself, right? That you can either outsource or accept help on. Do you understand that? Right? Academics is your core investment. Please protect it. Prioritize quality work. Prioritize your learning. Prioritize your grades. I can't emphasize that enough. But also ensure that you are serving. Also ensure that you are building relationships, that you are nurturing relationships, that you are providing support, you are cultivating quality relationships, that you're even building a community, right? I started building community quite early in school, and it also helped me because much later I did politics and several other things that I did in school. So moving on quickly, preparing for life after school. One of the questions that people ask a lot is, "Oh, what's next? What next?" Especially for those who are in final year. I intend to do another presentation on that question of what's next, right? But for those who are still undergraduates, please, you don't have to wait till you are done with school to not ask what next. You don't have to start from zero or one when you are in final year or done with school. You can start building from now. You can start building from now. So I want to just emphasize this for those who are currently in their last semester or those who are currently in final year, that last phase. But I would also have another session for just those who have graduated, right? For new graduates, which is interestingly also the phase I'm in. But it's that thing where as I'm learning and also making progress, I also want to share those lessons with you, right? I'm not saying I've figured it all out. Are we together? Right? I just figured it's not a live conversation, so I can't get feedback. But that's why occasionally I do the right. Are you with me? And all of that. It's just the natural expression of the fact that I teach, right? And you see, I just did that again. Okay. For those who are just in that final lap, please but focus, right? It's a time to cut off a lot of distractions. It's a time to make the most of the season. It's also a good time to start reaching out to the professional network, asking for opportunities. You can get recommended to some fellowships or some online programs, like the McKinsey Forward, like a number of things that you can just take and and start preparing for that transition into the workplace. Remember reaching out to someone then was an alumni, and he told me a program that I went on to do. Right, it was a practical skill training, and from there I got some of the opportunities. Started working with a company, and it also brought in money, and some of the other things that you would say are benefits. But what I'm simply saying is that you can start reaching out. Okay, also start building a digital portfolio. Even before the digital portfolio, one simple thing I want to say, I had this opportunity, and it was just I think a 4 days time frame. And the only reason why I could not maximize it is because as at that time I didn't have my CV ready. It's been a long time since I applied for a job using a CV. Many of the times it's just been based on recommendations, referrals, and I didn't have that ready, and I could not take advantage of that. What I'm just simply saying is that yes, build your digital portfolio, such as your LinkedIn profile, but also polish your CV, prepare it. Right, you're going to need it for some things that you'll be applying for. This one on financial literacy is also a topic on its own. Please, you should start saving early, start investing early, start building financial intelligence early, even from your 100 level, right? Like I said, not just scholarships. I can pinpoint a number of things that gave me quite a lot of money while in school. There's not that says you must depend just on your family. Yes, we thank God for families that are very supportive. Kudos to them. We honor and celebrate their sacrifices. But what I'm simply saying is that you can also start gaining that financial independence and even becoming a blessing to your family and to others, right? Why still an undergraduate, right? But like I said, it's an entire lesson on its own. uh, one skill or one thing that I also want to really emphasize is your ability to tell stories. You see, many of the things that we are seeing around content creation booming and becoming the big deal it is, requires this basic skill of storytelling. We're human beings, we connect with stories, we love stories, right? So you should be able to express yourself, express your own story, your own unique experiences, your why, the things that drive you, that is your purpose, right? Your skills, the things you are able to do. You should be able to know if somebody's asking you, oh, okay, so what do? You should be able to express yourself, okay, with evidence, without taking so much time. Also, there is something about organization. I really want to tie this up, so let me just move on. Okay. Finally, and my conclusion, right? We must learn to choose mastery over just motionless knowledge. Don't just be that person who you know a lot of things in your head, but you're not taking any action. The Bible will say that it is the doers that are blessed, not just the hearers, right? So put to practice even some of those things I've said today. Look at the action points and act on them. As touching LinkedIn, as touching reaching out to someone, as touching, um your relationships, as touching all of those things. Put those things to action. Okay, that is how you will actually get the results. That's how you actually get the results. I'm not saying it's going to be all easy. There'll be challenges, there'll be some failures, but I've come to learn that failures are not, they're not even stumbling blocks. They're actually just part of the process. They're actually part of the preparations. They are part of the tuition, the school fees you pay for success, right? Failures are an integral part of that process. So what I'm simply saying is that yes, there are some things that will not work out exactly how you want them, but ensure you are making progress. Keep moving forward. Keep moving ahead. Okay. A few final points I want to make is that time is limited. We all have 24 hours. Time is that resource that you cannot save, you cannot increase, you cannot reduce. So make the most of it. Learn to manage your time, time management. Learn to prioritize. I think I would also do another presentation on time management. Okay. Learn to make the most of your time. See your time as a resource that is non renewable, and also see it as a resource that you can invest to build the life that you want. I've also said about experience. It's one of the things that will set you apart from just being a job seeker to being a job chooser. Right? I've had a number of job offers. I couldn't take all of them. Some of them because I didn't want to travel for them, or some of them because it was going to demand so much on my time, right? Or maybe it was not just aligned with some other thing that I see myself doing in the long run. What I'm simply saying is that that skill, network, networks, that's relationships, experiences can be the difference between being a job seeker and a job chooser. Start acting now, okay? Stop waiting, start applying your knowledge, start putting it to practice. There are things you think you know, but it's when you try to put it to practice, you'll find out, oh, I actually need to learn this other thing, or I need to, get better at this. Okay? Live intentionally in all you do. Be very, very, very intentional about your life. God is intentional about you, and one of the best ways you can appreciate Him for that is also being intentional about your own life. In all you do, live for the glory of God. Live a life that gives Him praise, that gives Him pleasure, that gives Him delight, that gives Him glory. Because that's the purpose. That is why we are here on earth. That is why you are here on earth. And finally, put this to practice. Till I see you again in the next presentation. I trust this has been valuable and worth your time. Thank you and God bless you. I wanted to keep this under 30 minutes, but I trust the extra 2 minutes has been worthwhile. For an introduction, my name is Caleb Cookeygam, and I have a YouTube channel called Conversations with Caleb Cookeygam. I'll be uploading all of this there, and I trust that as you follow, you will have a reason to be grateful. And you can always reach out on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, and share your feedback, or just even there in the comment section. I would also share the link to this presentation in the description so you can have access to it also. Thank you, and do enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you. Shalom.